by Officer Philip White. Officer White, hate to see you go, but very proud of you to be able to do that. First, our invocation by Commissioner Crawford, if you will, sir.
Let's bow for prayer. Wonderful Savior, we're so thankful for this evening that you've given us to come together, brought us here safely, and given us good health. And Father, may we never forget what this season is all about and why we have the abundant life we have that you promised us. It's because you gave the best that you had for us. May we endeavor to always put our best forward for our community and for our county. We love you and thank you for all that you've done for us and will continue to do. For it's in Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Next, I'd like to recognize Commissioner Travis Ward for introduction of Officer White.
One final time, I'd like to introduce Sergeant Philip White to lead us in our pledge. Salute, pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated.
When the board opens, please record your presence. They're playing it, whatever it is. Has every member recorded their presence? Has every member recorded their presence? Madam Clerk.
21 present, 3 absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have a quorum, county commissions in session. I'll tell you fellas one thing, you know how to make an entrance. First order, appointments. Sullivan County Board of Commissioners meeting in regular session this 19th day of December 2024 hereby appoints the following new members / farm women to the UT TSU Extension Sullivan County Agriculture Committee. The two nominees are Sheila Earhart and Linda Jones. Said order confirmed entered into the record this day, 19th day of December 2024. Any discussion on the nominees? Can we put this on the board or we want to do it voice? Okay. It's all under one thing? Okay. Okay, well, we'll move through them together then. Next appointment. Whereas the Sullivan County Regional Planning Commission does hereby certify that the Sullivan County Board of Commissioners pursuant to TCA 13-4-101 is duly appointed by the Sullivan County, Tennessee, that a vacancy will occur on said Regional Planning Commission by virtue of the expiration of a term of office. The Sullivan County Regional Planning Commission further certifies that nominee Dr. Mark Webb and Linda Brittenham are qualified and willing to serve on the Sullivan County Regional Planning Commission. Sullivan County Mayor Richard S. Venable and his authority to appoint members to said Regional Planning Commission pursuant to TCA 13-4-101 that Dr. Mark Webb and Ms. Linda Brittenham be reappointed to serve on the Regional Planning Commission. That's the only way. That's the three names. That's the only two appointments, correct? Any discussion on the appointments? Without objection, when the board opens, please cast your vote on the appointments. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk,
19 yes, 2 no, 3 absent.
having received the necessary majority of the votes cast, the appointments are approved. Next order, presentations. I'd like to recognize from Networks, Mr. Clay Walker in the well.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Gardner. I know I just saw you and you probably didn't expect to see me so soon. I was coming anyway to drop off Christmas presents. If the newspaper is here before you tack it, they're all under the $50 minimum for anything, so it's all okay. But at any rate, I'd like to recognize with me is David Wagner, who's the chairman of Network Sullivan Partnership. David was rolling off of the board previously when I first began 10 years ago, but he was chair of the Bristol IDB at that time, and he's been, so I got to know David very well right out of the chute, and we asked him to come back on the board. I believe he is a representative of this body that Mayor Venable appointed, and he's been a leader for us in economic development, and my staff and I feel very fortunate to have him in the leadership role in Networks. Why I'm here so soon. Last Thursday night, I was trying to just enjoy another, I think, season 4 of Jack Ryan, and as we binged that, and my phone started lighting up and said, get on YouTube, and I did. And Mr. John Rose from the Bridge, and I still fall back into the Hub sometimes, so I mean no disrespect if I do that, let me say that right off, was speaking, and I guess he was talking about the airport and their work there and trying to obtain more flights, more service for the airport. But in the Q&A and in his presentation, they kind of got off on a lot of the traditional economic development that's been the source of a lot of discussion. And I got some calls that I should come up and address some of these points, and I called Chairman Gardner and asked if I should do so, and he agreed. So here I be. So very quickly, first of all, one thing that came up that has come up for the past 7 or so years with talks of regionalism, and that is the notion that the state does not have a point of contact in northeast Tennessee as it does in other regions across the state. Lynn Tully is the Tennessee Economic Community Development Northeast Regional Director. Now there are regional chambers of commerce that work very differently. I've worked with a number of them. The way the state gets leads, though, does not flow through those chambers of commerce. It goes to every point of contact in every county across the state. It works the same everywhere, period. We are the economic development organization of record for the state of Tennessee. We receive all the leads. Creating a layer between us and ECD would be a terrible mistake for Sullivan County. And we've discussed that. I think I'm preaching to the choir on this, but I just want to reiterate it. Mr. Rose also made comments about working projects with us and how that works. We are not working any economic development projects with the bridge. We have not worked any economic development projects with the bridge. The only leads that he has mentioned in Sullivan County have not been in the primary job sectors. They've been retail, commercial, professional services that have been brought to him by realtors. So we have not been engaged in that way. On several occasions, mentioning collaboration, he mentioned, or on a couple occasions anyway, he mentioned how it works that he would meet with myself and Mark Canty on projects for Airspace Park. They've not been involved in Airspace Park projects. He did approach Mark Canty and myself, represent a local business owner who wanted to build a private hangar for their plane. We we, along with Gene Cosby, the Executive Director of Aerospace of Tri-Cities Airport, explained that that is not the stated purpose of Aerospace Park and it does not qualify. So the bridge has not generated a lead for Aerospace Park or any other industrial property in Sullivan or Hawkins counties. If they were to generate a lead, their standard operational procedure should be contacting networks, as again, we are the EDO of record for Sullivan County. It's how the state does it, AEP, TVA, site consultants, Neferida, they all operate in that way. Mr. Rose did mention several times that if he gets a project for Kingsport, he would call Kingsport, or if it's Bristol, he would call Bristol. That is not how we are set up. It really ignores our interlocal governmental agreement with those cities along the Bluff City. It's not the standard normal industry practice. So if they were to get industrial lead, we would like for them to follow the procedure that everybody else follows. In doing so, he's essentially trying to take the role of networks and marginalize us in the process. He also made mention that other economic development agencies in Northeast Tennessee, other than the bridge, can't cross the state line, and that he described working in 2 states as an advantage. When it comes to traditional economic development, I would not classify it as such. Mayors Venable and Mayor Grandy, Mitch Miller, when he was with NetRep, had a meeting with the 3 top Tennessee economic development officials at the airport, and they advised us not to collaborate with the state on business attraction and recruitment. We have also, in our research on regionalism, when we were trying to work with NetRep on things we could collaborate on, we interviewed 3 regional organizations that have ventured across state lines studying this issue, and they all shared cautionary tales leading to them advising us against doing so. It is not an advantage. I normally don't comment on the newspaper. I'm going to say a couple of things. There was an editorial that I'm sure we all read in the Kingsport Times News. Since I've been here for the past 10 years, every time I've talked to Mr. Glover, Commissioner Glover, about a regional endeavor and explained to him, here's why we want to do it, what we did, he has supported it. He has been a champion, as all of you have, for proper economic development. The Times News has continued to ignore a couple of things about the vote a few years ago in support of networks. There was a memo between, at the time, the Northeast Tennessee Hub's attorney and the Hub's CEO, saying the ultimate goal was to take over all the local EDOs, including networks, and put them under that umbrella. That is the basis on which this vote, I believe, was called for and taken. It was not made out of ignorance and not understanding. It also mentioned that the Hub did not appear. I recall very vividly that the Hub CEO was invited to appear before that vote was taken and decided not to come. The Times News has traditionally left out a lot of critical information when covering these issues. I'd like to thank Mr. Glover publicly, as I've done privately, and the rest of the County Commission for consistently taking stands to protect the county's best interests while taking uninformed and unjust criticism. I appreciate it more than I can say. Finally, Networks is your economic development organization. We have about 50 years experience in this profession between the 3 members of our staff. And when you add on our local partners, it more than doubles years of experience. Suffice it to say that the bridge does not have nearly that much experience. In fact, their senior official has less experience than our newest team member has. Please do not hesitate, as you seldom do, to call me when questions arise, to get our view and clear understanding of what we do, how we do it, as well as what's going on from a regional perspective. You've always been great supporters in my decade here of working, and I've enjoyed working for you on your behalf. Because of your support, we've enjoyed great success. If we continue to work under our current structure, collaborating with other EDOs in the region as we always have, you can expect even more success in the future. We have a lot of momentum, y'all know that. Wouldn't be possible without all your support, without the way our cities have come together, without without working with Hawkins County the way we have. I don't understand a lot of people is wanting to disrupt this growth, but I want you to know those facts and those statements that were made that were misleading or just inaccurate. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. The floor is open for questions. Mr. Walker, does anyone seek recognition? Anyone seek recognition? Mr. Walker, it's always a treat to see you.
Treated to see you. I'm glad we'll be home for supper on time. So thank y'all again. Merry Christmas. And again, I appreciate you guys.
Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Gregory from Excel Energy Group. Thank you for being with us. You've come a long way. We really appreciate you making the trip.
Well, it's great to be here, and appreciate y'all's time and attention. My name is Mark Gregory. I'm with Excel Energy Group, and we are a lighting company. That's what we do. And I met Mr. Carter at, I guess it was TSBA meeting in 2023, and he had just become the director, and we had a little chat about it. And so we've been working on this project, I think, for a little over a year to get it to the point where it is now. We've been in business for over 30 years. We've upgraded over 2,000 school districts to new lights. Some of your neighbors here in East Tennessee that we've upgraded to LED lighting are Sevier, Washington, Hawkins, Maryville City, Granger, Rome, and Jefferson. We've completed all of those projects. There's two ways to approach funding a project like this. You can get a loan from the state of Tennessee through the EESI, which is the Energy Efficient Schools Initiative. It was put in place to fund schools becoming more energy efficient. So the Sullivan County School Board voted unanimously to approve funding through EESI at the recent meeting. There's also another way to approach this, and that's to pay for it out of fund balance. And we've had 2 districts that I've worked with in the past several years that did that. Sevier County did that, and Giles County did that as well. That's advantageous in that it shortens the payback on the project if you pay cash for it. This project covers 17,000 lights in the district, inside and out. The inside lights will have a guarantee of 10 years. The outside lights carry a guarantee of 5 years because they're outside. But we expect all the lights to last 20 years. It doesn't matter if it's 100 degrees outside or if it's snowing outside. All that matters is if the lights are on or off and how much wattage they're pulling. There's only 3 things that affect it: the wattage of the lights, the hours of operation, and the kWh rate you're charged from the electric company. And that's it. We'll also be putting in motion sensors in any room with 4 or more lights that will shut off when no one's in the room. So we're reducing the wattage and the hours of operation. The project total is just a little over $2 million. Annual savings over $317,000. So it has a payback of 6.5 years if they go to cash flow. Any questions about it? I just try to be straightforward, and that's, it is what it is. It's just a straightforward lighting upgrade. And it will also enhance the learning environment in all the schools. And when you do it, the schools look great. What the community will notice are the outside lights and the gyms. When they go to volleyball and basketball games, they'll notice that.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. I'll open the floor up for questions for Mr. Gregory. At this point, Mr. Iverson, seek recognition for questions for Mr. Gregory.
Actually, just to give the rest of the commission a little bit of context. So at the last Board of Education meeting, they had a presentation by Excel Group about doing this throughout every school in the system. They voted to do it, but they still haven't got anything to us as far as the contract and everything else, and he's still working with Larry Bailey about that. There's nothing on your desk, but Mr. Gregory's not local. So since he's in town, they asked him to come by and give you a presentation. What he had told you about is $2 million, I think, $2.1 million, and they're going to figure out the financing through the finance director's office. Grand total, if they go through that EESI loan program, I think it's $68,000 a year that they'll actually put back into their coffers after they pay the loan payment. So, didn't want you guys to not know exactly what's going on, but that's what this whole group's about. That's what the school board's looking at. But since it's nothing in our boxes or nothing to vote on, really didn't understand what's happening. So I just want to give you that, so you'll have some more context and ask questions if you want to ask any questions.
I will say that TVA has reviewed this project and has approved it and are offering rebates to the project. And the state of Tennessee engineers with the ESI have also reviewed the project and approved it.
Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Gregory? Mr. Gregory, I'll give you the final word.
Hey, just have a Merry Christmas, and it's good to be here and see you
We
guys.
actually had a late arrival here.
Okay.
Mr. Jones may have a question for you, sir.
I don't know if this is a question for Mark or Mr. Gregory. Will this be coming back? Do we have to vote on this? We will, so there will be a resolution coming in the future. Okay, thank you.
They just don't know if they're gonna do the 1.5% loan from EESI or pay out fund balance.
Commissioner Iverson.
Yeah, either way, Mr. Jones, they're either going to go out their fund balance or do a loan. Since they can't do a loan, it'll have to be through the commission to do the loan. And again, that's going to be something for, Larry Bailey just got this piece of information today. He hasn't looked at it at all, so to ask him anything would be unfair. So he's going to look at that, and he's going to get with Director Carter, and they're going to decide what the best process would be. Once they get past the process, they'll bring it to us, and then it'll probably be next month when we see it, I would think.
You know, a point of interest is, I think Tennessee is one of 3 states in the union where school boards don't have, county school boards don't have taxing authority and go through the county for the funds. I just thought that was interesting. I spent 12 years on the Williamson County School Board, and I remember going to the county commission all the time. Because we averaged 1 new school every year I was on the board. And we go in front of them every year and ask for money.
Commissioner Eckert.
Thank you, Commissioner Harrison. This is all Mr. Gregory gave a great presentation. I really had no idea why we were hearing anything at the point. So my question is kind of follow up on what Sam was saying. I mean, is it something we're trying to get done now, or is it something we're going to be looking at for the budget season? Because, I mean, budget season starts here in another 60, 90 days.
I would hope at your January commission meeting, they would present a resolution for either doing the EESI loan or asking to pay out fund balance.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Just to answer your question, so we're meeting on January 1st to vote on this. So, second, to vote on this, and then that way it'll line up for your next meeting, if that makes sense.
I mean, because some of us get a little squirrely trying to spend money after the first year when you start into budget season. Is there an emergency for this? Or, I mean, so if it's approved, what's the game plan to get it implemented? You know?
Once approved by the county commission, the next day we will order the lights. They typically arrive 4 weeks after that day. And then it'll take 45 days or less to do the complete installation.
All right.
Anyone else seek recognition? Mr. Cross.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That installation, will that be done while schools are in session?
No, they'll work from 4 in the evening till 4 in the morning.
Thank you very much.
And on your budget question, we're not necessarily asking for money, we're just asking to be able to use. Yeah, like, we're not asking for extra budget money at all or anything like that, we're just asking to be able to use it. You all have to approve that, so.
Anyone else seeking recognition? Commissioner Cross.
I apologize for a second for bringing in. With that, I'm sorry, I'll direct my question. No extra money on this. Would this be a one-time expenditure? There would not be of course, with the loan, it'd have to be paid off over time. But with this, are you looking for a one-time use out of your fund balance?
Yes, that's the plan.
Thank you.
Commissioner Carr.
Thank you. What is the interest rate on that loan from the state of Tennessee?
1.5%.
1.5. Thank you.
Anyone else seeking recognition? I don't see anybody. Mr. Gregory, thank you for being here with us. Have a safe trip back, sir.
Thanks, and once again, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you, sir. Next order, approval of commission minutes, November 14th, 2024, November 21st, 2024. That's our work session and our regular scheduled commission meeting. Anyone make a motion? Motion to approve by Commissioner Crawford, second by Commissioner Locke and Commissioner Cowden. Any discussion on the minutes as presented? Without objection, when the board opens, please cast your vote on the minutes as presented. Commissioner Locke, you could vote in the affirmative for me. I appreciate it. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk.
22 yes, 2 absent.
Having received necessary majority of the votes cast, minutes are approved. Next order, approval of notaries. Madam Clerk, we have a list of notaries.
Casey R. Allen, Amber Bowley, Sean M. Carnahan, Jennifer Chai, Chris Allen Christian, Stephanie B. Clisso, Pamela Elaine Cole, Jennifer Collier, Stephen Michael Counts Jr., Ashley Marie Deal, Frank Joseph Gilcreek, Patricia K. Dillman, Brandy Irvin, Robert Joseph Gold II, Matthew Griffith, Danielle Henry, Ricky M. Kaiser, David L. Laws, Tricia McClure Sale, Christy Sawyer, Robert Shufit, Angela Renee Thornsberry, Jenny Wingfield.
You've heard the list of notaries. Any discussion on the list of notaries as read? Without objection, when the board opens, please cast your vote on the notaries. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk.
22 yes, 2 absent.
Having received the necessary majority of the votes cast, notaries are approved. Next order, public comment on agenda-related items. And if you wish to sign either list of public comment, agenda-related, non-agenda-related, you can do so if you wish. You can sign on both. Since no one signed up for public comment on agenda-related items, without objection, public comment on agenda-related items is closed. Next order, resolutions requested for consent. You have a consent calendar. The clerk's going to Hand me a copy here so I can read them. I can have you read them, but that's fine. I'll do it. Just for the record, on the consent calendar, items 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 are on the consent calendar. Requires unanimous consent. Is there any items anyone wishes to bump off the consent calendar? Excuse me.
It doesn't say 12 is on it, in our package. Oh, it is? Okay.
Those numbers again are 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Does anyone that wish to bump an item off? Without objection, when the board opens, please cast your vote on the consent calendar. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk.
22 yes, 2 absent.
Having received the necessary majority of the votes cast, the consent calendar is approved. Next order, resolution calendar. Recognize Commissioner Iverson on item number 1. We'll withdraw. Commissioner Iverson moves to withdraw item number 1. Without objection, recognize Commissioner Jones on item number 2.
Thank you, Commissioners. This is a resolution to authorize the mayor.
Commissioner Jones, you'll press your button, sir.
I'm sorry.
You're fine. Thanks, sir.
Wow. Resolution to authorize the mayor to send a letter of intent to the Tennessee Valley Authority expressing Sullivan County's interest in extending for 30 years the county's easement from TVA of TVA owned land known and operated for nearly 50 years as Observation Knob Park. In the 50-year agreement, one of the changes in this is with TVA's and TWRA's request, the 421 boat ramp would be removed from that. The current, everything else would stay the same. A couple of questions to answer that came up in the work session. One of the questions that came up was why a 30-year lease? Someone had mentioned a 25-year. With TVA, with all of their new agreements, and this is questions asked of the Jonathan McNutt, our TVA representative. All new easement agreements that TVA is doing, they're looking at a 30-year term for various reasons. One, to have consistency with their leases. But the other reason they've gone with 30 years is a lot of the properties that they lease are marines across from North Carolina to Alabama, Georgia, wherever TVA's at. And a lot of those have 30-year loan agreements on them, so they want to match up. We're not in that position, but that's why they have a 30-year agreement. A question was asked about fireworks. Fireworks does prohibit campers and others staying on the property from firing fireworks. But they do allow the tenant, which should be the county, Observation Knob Park, to file a permit, and we have filed permits every year that we've done it. I have the letter that we filed last year and permit. We do require a liability, and Sullivan County, Tennessee Observation Knob Park is the recognized group in this. It's $1 million, $2 million aggregate. And that letter is signed by Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency Major Shelley Hammonds, and copies are forwarded to TVA and the TWRA voting division. So that the organization can do the fireworks, campers cannot, they're just prohibited. But we are allowed that. So the question was asked about an opt-out clause. The contract, and actually, we approved this contract 2 years ago when we had the issue with the campers that were staying there extended period of time. In order to get them removed, we adopted this agreement 2 years ago that gave us the 2-week notice, or 2 weeks we had to empty the campground. That's how we were able to do that and to get us in the process. The TVA contract says that you can only be 11 and a half months maximum. So we were able to do that, clean up campground, had numerous containers of trash removed. The highway department came out so much and helped us with their plow to remove that. But that was really the turning around when we adopted these guidelines 2 years ago. And I think this commission's the one that voted on that, to do that. So we actually been operating under the new contract technically since then. We just haven't had it in place in a legal presence. The question was asked, is there a penalty for early termination of the agreement? There is no stated of any period, but and the only thing I can say is verbally from Jonathan McNutt, and I can have our camp manager, Chris Erkey, he's talked to Jonathan about this also. What it says is that if we abandoned it, then TVA has the right to come in and just take over the property. I had that marked. But everything that we're doing now is pretty much in this agreement already. TVA has asked us to do that, including the 11.5-month time period. I would move to approve it. This resolution is presented. If you have any other questions, I'll try to answer them.
You heard the explanation on item number 2. The floor is open for discussion. Recognize Commissioner Harvey on item number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So 30 years is a very long time to make a commitment, and so I think we've already experienced the issues and concerns that we had with a 38-year contract that a former commission 25 years ago signed and put into effect without any opt-out provision. And as a result of that, it's cost this county a lot of money, and we have not been able to get something changed on that, and we're going to continue to be strapped with that bad contract for another at least 13 years. So I think the lesson there is that you want to make sure that you've tried to look at things strategically, especially if it's a long-term contract, and put some things in place to protect you as much as possible. So I do have an amendment that I'd like to recommend, but before I do that, I do want to make a couple of statements. I want to thank Chris Erkey because he has done a fabulous job, and I want to thank the Observation Knob Committee. They've done a great job. We've had a radar on this park, and that's a good thing. And we've seen that, only in 3 or 4 years, what a difference if we look back 4 years, where we were and how many years this park was in the red. but there's 30 years ahead and a lot of things can change. So we need to, I believe we need to look strategically and make sure that any future generations of commissioners don't face what we had to face with having a contract that you can't get out of. So as a result of that, and before I submit this, I just had one question about the fireworks. So my understanding is then, if someone has a contract to do that, does that mean that Sullivan County doesn't have any liability if for some reason, let's say a firework lay dormant and a child picked it up 6 months down the road and it went off? Would Sullivan County not have any, would they have any liability with that?
Mr. Jones?
It's my understanding the liability coverage is for the fireworks. They, in their request, these are the class of fireworks. These are fireworks you can shoot in your backyard, light them yourself. They just put a show on with them. And they do request a safety fallout area of 125 feet. I understand from the, that was from the TWRA in their letter. And I understand if Mr. Erkey would come to the podium as well, we've been running about 200, 250 feet. Everything's within that range, most. Can you?
Yeah, so the fireworks in the location that they are set off is the public swim area location, which is the furthest point on observation office property that the public can access. So when we do fireworks, 24 hours prior to that, the location is secured. The day of fireworks, we have fire department, EMS, and police, if available, who also help to protect that area, or our constables in the area work to protect the area before, during, and then after for a period of time until the fire department can put the hose down and everything, make sure that there's no hot areas. It is closed the rest of the night, and then the next morning, all that is disposed of into an open top container.
Whichever one of y'all are seeking recognition, because Mr. Jones, you brought Mr. Erkey. I didn't know if you had any questions for him. Ms. Harvey, go ahead.
Okay, so I'd just like to read the amendment, proposed amendment, which.
Are you finished with Mr. Erkey?
Oh, sorry.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Erkey? Ms. Harvey, do you have anything for Mr. Erkey? Mr. Erkey, you're free to sit. Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming. I just didn't want to cut him loose if somebody had.
Proposed amendment to resolution states that any newly drafted, updated, or extended contract related to the 30-year lease agreement with the Tennessee Valley Authority shall include language explicitly granting Sullivan County the right to terminate the agreement without penalty at 5-year intervals based on an established 5-year check step by future generations of Sullivan County commissioners. This required check step will provide future Sullivan County commissioners with the opportunity to review, assess, and vote on the feasibility of the county continuing to operate and fund with taxpayer dollars Observation Knob Park. The check step and corresponding provision to opt out of the TVA lease without penalty ensures that future elected commissioners can evaluate the ongoing viability of Observation Knob Park based on the current economic and operational conditions at that time, as well as the county's outstanding obligations and financial priorities at that respective time in the future. And I'd like to ask Commissioner Jones if you would accept that amendment.
Commissioner Jones?
I can accept that. That changes the TVA agreement. That theirs is an agreement that's used at all their locations within their area of operation that they lease. I would be open to a resolution being brought forth and be happy to be a co-sponsor on that, Commissioner Harvey, that we as a body have that in place for not only this contract, but other contracts, that we look at them on a period. But I can't accept that as part of this contract.
For, recognize Commissioner Akers.
Thank you, Chairman. I agree with both, obviously, parties here discussing this. And I do think the compromise from Commissioner Jones would be a good one, a resolution to have, because when we do enter into these long-term agreements, you know, one of the biggest frustrations I've had since day one is not having the forward-withal to be able to have a long-range planning, you know, financial management. I've been smacked down enough by Larry Bailey telling me it's only 12 months at a time over there, so. But I am kind of curious, man, this is saying that we're giving the mayor the intent to sign it, which I believe is true, but would it come in front of your office to be looked at ahead of time at all? Since you're county attorney?
Well, that's actually, I was going to try to get the floor and ask that language be clarified. It's my understanding that you're actually wanting the resolution to say that the mayor is authorized to sign this 30-year lease. The words you use are to initiate extension, and to me, that's not really clear. So I think that's what you're asking, and I would like that, or recommend that be clarified, whether the resolution authorizes the mayor to go ahead and sign this 30-year lease, or whether it just authorizes him to enter into negotiations.
I'll recognize the sponsor, then we'll come back to you, Commissioner Harvey. Commissioner Jones.
I did have a discussion today with our attorney on that, and where'd it go? I do have a amendment. Well, I had it earlier right here. To address that question that he's asked, and that would be to, in the opening statement of resolution, to authorize and to change that to sign a new contract with Tennessee Valley Authority extending for 30 years of county's easement. That would replace, send a letter of intent to Tennessee Valley Authority, change that to sign a new contract with Tennessee Valley Authority. And that was after discussion. I've got it written out.
So we can be clear as to where we are in the process right now. Commissioner Harvey offered an amendment, and the sponsor rejected the amendment.
If I may say, when in discussions I've been having with TVA, they would, I think they sent this several months ago to look at. We just never saw it, to look at it. And they would like to move forward with it. They have several things that they need to do from their legal side with contracts. And it's important, I think, for us, for Mr. Erkey, he's already getting requests from organizations wanting to enter into contracts for fishing tournaments. We have a national, you heard the discussion about that, National Water Dog Show coming in. TVA was very instrumental in Observation Knob Park getting that event to come here, that he cannot enter these contracts until we say, yeah, we're ready to go forward with the new one. So that's the wording, that I would change that to sign a new contract with Tennessee Valley Authority.
You wish to formally offer that?
Offer that as an amendment.
Okay.
Right.
You do need to copy that now.
I'll give it to her.
Okay. Recognize Commissioner Crawford.
Thank you, Chairman. Sam, this current contract is going to expire July of 2025. Now, when are we supposed to have an authorized agreement with them?
We need-
Start working,
Right. Actually, they want it as soon as possible,
Okay.
is what they're saying.
but there's nothing in writing that gives us that we have to have an agreement prior to this
Right, but
dissolving.
because of the way that contract, instead of being set up on the first of the year or anything, it was originally set up in July, so that's when it starts again. But, Manager Erkey needs to be able to go ahead and schedule events. He can't legally do anything unless we would have a new contract in place.
Okay.
He could do it, but we may come back and 3 months down the road and say, oh, well, we're not going to do it anymore. There's no penalty for us to withdraw. Let me say that. But we are still responsible for the water contract that runs out 13 years, which has nothing to do with the TVA contract.
Commissioner Jones, if I could, for the electronic record and the commissioner's indulgence, if you could read the amendment one time, so that way we know where we are. I just want to keep that straight as
In
well.
that, the resolution to authorize the mayor to sign a new contract with the Tennessee Valley Authority extending for 30 years the county's easement from TVA of TVO-owned land and operated for nearly 50 years as observation non-park.
Thanks, sir. Recognize Commissioner Harvey.
My concern with that is that there's a $5,000 charge by the Tennessee Valley Authority to enter into this new lease agreement. And any newly drafted agreement between the mayor of Sullivan County and the Tennessee Valley Authority must come back to the full Sullivan County Commission for a favorable vote before it can legally take effect. Is that not correct?
Commissioner Jones.
I think if we authorize them to sign the contract, that's pretty much what we've done on any other contracts we've done. Yes, TVA does have on every easement that they do, whether it's a marina or whatever, they have a $5,000 filing fee that they have. That's their standard fee. And that, we have that in our budget for the park to cover that.
I'm gonna, you turn yourself off. I'm gonna recognize Commissioner Vanover, and I'll come back to you, Commissioner Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know you got a resolution on the floor and an amendment on the floor, but before you vote, I think you may have answered this question from Mr. Crawford, but you said there is no penalty to withdrawal. We can withdraw from this contract at any time, correct?
That's verbal statement to both Mr. Erkey and myself from Jonathan McNutt, the representative for TVA.
Just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Commissioner Harvey, then we'll recognize Attorney Street.
So that's the whole purpose of the amendment, is because when you have verbal discussions, those get lost over time. Nobody's going to remember who Jonathan McNutt is 15 years ago. Nobody's going to probably remember many of us. So it's important, and I think we have some attorneys in here probably, I hope, that would agree that you need to specify in that contract specifically. You can't assume just because somebody says it's not in there, that means that we don't have a penalty. I think we need to put specifically in there that we will be able to terminate on a 5-year interval without penalty. And that is clearly in the amendment that I have here. It's not to change anything other than ensuring that we have this as tight as we can as far as not obligating future generations to get bound up with something.
Attorney Street.
Well, I was just gonna say what Commissioner Harvey said. I mean, the agreement's for 30 years. I mean, you can't just walk out on it whenever you want to.
Recognize Commissioner Harrison.
Just a question for Attorney Street. or any attorney, I guess, in the room, but in any contract, if you say that you can leave at any time, doesn't the penalty have to be listed on the contract to actually have any bearing on what penalty would be?
Well, if you have a contract for 30 years, which this one, you know, that's the way I understand it. It's a contract for 30 years. In fact, when I wrote my opinion about this contract, I say I could not find any language that provides for early termination should the county wish to end this agreement. If you breach a contract, you're subject to whatever damages TVA can prove. There is no set penalty. Some contracts may provide for set penalties, but you don't have to. It would be up to TVA to prove whatever damages they can prove if they wanted to. They don't have to. But let's say, for example, we walked away and TVA brought in somebody else to take over. They could sue us and say, well, we had to spend this amount of money to keep that park going. You agreed to run it for 30 years. You bailed out on us. It cost us this amount of money to clean it up. And I'm just using that as an example. But, I mean, the bottom line is we can't, the damages don't have to be set forth in a penalty. TVA could come forward after the fact if we walked out on them and prove the damages if they sued us for breach of contract.
Recognize sponsor.
It actually does say, under item 2 on page 2, item B, in the event the guarantee, which is us, Sullivan County, shall cease to use the easement for the purpose of public recreation area, for public recreation purposes for a period of 2 years, or regardless of time period, initiate the use of that area to not use it for what we're intending for. I'll just summarize what it says. Then TVA, there's no penalty in here. We give them a 30-day written notice from TVA requesting that we end it. There's no penalty in here anywhere in that paragraph. So if we lock the gates, TVA then would be able to come in and take it over.
Attorney Street?
Well, I'm not saying that any lease, the landlord says if you abandon it, I have the right to come in and take it back over. Every lease says that. So the mere fact that if it's in the lease that TVA says if you abandon it, we have the right to come back in and take it over, that's just common lease language. That doesn't mean that they're not going to sue us for breach of contract. And the statement that we give 30 days notice, I don't see that in there anywhere. It says that if we don't cure the breach in 30 days, what it means is they'll give us 30 days if we walk out to come back and fulfill our obligations. But that's the only thing I see that has to do with 30 days.
Commissioner Vanover?
I think this is all we have in the county attorney. Would it be your recommendation to accept this amendment for the good of the county?
Well, I'd rather not comment on that. I mean, that's up to you. The issue is, do you want to sign a 30-year lease or do you want to sign a 30-year lease that you can cancel every 5 years?
Would we be on solid legal ground if we did walk out without an amendment or not?
No, you would not be on any legal ground. You'd be in breach of contract.
Thank you.
Could you clarify this? Forgive me, I'm going to ask a question from the chair, but also as a voting member. Would you clarify that we would be in breach of contract for accepting the amendment? Is that what you're saying, sir?
No. If we walked out on it
At any point in time.
At any point in time.
At any point.
Short of the amendment. If you amend it, now, just to be clear, if the amendment passes, then we would go back to TVA and we say that we want the contract to say this. That doesn't mean TVA has to accept it. That's just negotiations. But short of that, if you approve this lease, it's for 30 years. And if you walk out before 30 years, then you're in breach of contract.
Either with or without the amendment.
Well, if you had the amendment, that's the purpose in the amendment, is every 5 years you get the option to walk away from it. Then you would not be in breach of contract if the amendment passed and if TVA approves the lease as amended.
And forgive me for that, I was just trying to get some clarity as a voting member myself. Commissioner McMurray and Commissioner Harvey.
And just to kind of dovetail off of what we were talking about, in a breach of contract case, typically your damages are limited to consequential damages. So what was a consequence of breaching that contract? So because we breached the contract, we vacated the property, the only thing that I could really foresee is maybe the grass gets too high, they have to send mowers in there, we'd have to pay for that. I couldn't really foresee a lot of consequential damages that would actually come from breaching this contract. But we really don't know. It could be anything. But my question is, and I don't know if Attorney Street
You try. It's possible TVA would say exactly what you're saying, no, take it or leave it, but I don't know the answer as to how that would play out. If we say, well, we're gonna walk away from it, if you don't give us that 5-year option, then they may say, well, okay, we'll do it. I don't know.
Commissioner Harvey.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm not worried about TVA. I'm worried about Sullivan County. I'm worried about future generations of this commission and having that opportunity, that flexibility to assess it. You know, we do it with, as Commissioner Crosswhite said, with our fire department. You know, we've set up these check steps, and that's a responsible thing to do for people that are going to come behind us. We've got the radar on it now, but that doesn't mean that down the road we will. And nobody's going to be going back and reading through all of this. We're doing that now. So this is just a protection and a check step. And if I'm allowed, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to put the amendment up for a vote.
That is a proper motion. Is there a second to her motion to amend item number 2? Proper motion by Commissioner Harvey, second by Commissioner Glover. I can only recognize you on the amendment. Anyone seeking recognition on the amendment? Commissioner Aker, do you seek recognition on the amendment?
I think it goes to the amendment.
Okay, then I'll recognize Commissioner Cross after the fact. Oh, no. But I'll know within a few seconds. Recognize Commissioner Aker on the amendment.
All right, thank you. Because what I was going to say was, first of all, thank you to Sam taking all those questions seriously last week and finding out all the answers. And I think it probably is a standard contract, and I think we have the right to at least ask, because it was curious why they went from 25 years to 30 years. Very simple. It's a bank loan for most Marines. We're not a Marine, you know? And so I think we owe it to at least ask, is there an option, and to clarify some of those things. So that's why I think so on board with the amendment.
Recognize Commissioner Cross on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On this amendment, accepting it, I think this was asked and answered. I stepped to use the restroom real quick, but I want to make sure. If TVA says to us, no, will this come back to us? Can we revisit this? Or is it, I want to make sure this is not a one and done situation where we accept this, we give them this offer, they say no, and then we're like, you know, what are we going to do with this part? You know, I want to make sure we can revisit this, and I don't know who I'm directing that question to, I guess Sam.
Mr. Jones would.
Well, as I said earlier, I think any contract we are into like this, and there may be others we need to look at as a commission, we can do this, we can come back at any time. We don't have to wait 5 years. We can, if something happens in 3 years and we want to come back and terminate it, what we're doing, we're locking ourselves into a 5-year agreement. We could come back at any time that we wanted, if there's questions come up about the operation of the park. I know a lot of people, and myself included, before we entered into this, accepted this agreement with TVA, 3 years ago, we were in a situation where we had people basically running the park before we got our current manager in, and living there and violating several of TVA's agreements. I mean, they had buses dropping off kids there and picking them up. That's a strict violation of TVA's campground operations. And so there's other things that we have opportunity to look at ourselves and to put ourselves into a 5-year contract, I think is not a good idea, because we can come back and question that any time down the road.
Mr. Cross on the amendment.
And a follow-up on that, and I understand the amendment, as far as Ms. Harvey said, protecting, looking out for Sullivan County, but I also want to look out for Sullivan County as far as not losing this park. It's doing very well. It's been bad in the past, and I understand that. I was on one side, I saw what happened, and I got on the other side. But we don't want to lose it. We want to be able to correct the mistakes, so I don't want to approach this with anything that could possibly threaten the loss of this park. That's absolutely on the amendment.
Commissioner Iverson, recognize you on the amendment.
On the amendment, just want to ask Commissioner Harvey if on the fourth line down it says without penalty, if we could possibly put a period there and drop off the rest of that language. And the reason I'm saying that is because kind of along the, well, I'm sorry, I'll let you answer before I consider, or is it something I should tell you a little bit more about what's the problem?
What you'd like to explain.
Okay, so the reason I say that is exactly what Commissioner Jones just said. Why lock ourselves into a 5-year policy? If we put a opt-out clause into that contract, why not just say the right to terminate the agreement without penalty, period? And at that point, it depends on how Attorney Street or whichever lawyers drawing this contract up and proposing this contract will get the language correct. But to me, I like the idea of not having a 5-year penalty or 5-year term and only looking at this 6 times over a 30-year cycle. So if we just say, without penalty, right to terminate the agreement without penalty, it seems like it would do what you're asking, but allow us a little more latitude.
Commissioner Harvey.
Well, I think he's already said that could happen. This is just to ensure that there is a formal, established check step. Because going forward, again, we've got the radar on it right now, but for many, many years, that didn't happen. And what happened? We operated in the red over and over and over. Nobody said anything. Nobody's questioned the water contract. Nobody ever asked anything. We're paying 2.5 times what neighboring people are paying for that. We have had rate increases in that district 17 out of 20 years. Nobody's ever questioned it. If you don't set up something with a formal check step, that's what happens. People don't see it, they don't know it, they don't pay any attention to it. And I think that's the whole reason why they did that with the fire department. To make sure that you get everything together, you assess, you look at what the current conditions are, and you make that decision. And that's all I want to do is put that in there so that future commissioners have that opportunity and it doesn't go by them because it just hasn't been on the radar.
I guess, decide if you want to or not, but I guess I'm along with the same thing about a different resolution that says we're going to set up a process to do this 5 years. I like that. I like having a resolution that says we're going to check it and everything else. But Again, I'd like to have it on there, it's just that we can terminate it without penalty instead of every 5 years. So if you can accept it, I'd appreciate it. If you can't, I understand.
Commissioner Harvey.
So can you read how you want that to be? phrased?
Just on line 4, where it says to terminate the agreement without penalty, period. And that takes anything else out. We can put the 5-year intervals in a resolution. We can set up whoever you want to do it, that's fine. It might be the OBNOB committee that does it every 5 years. I'm just saying putting it without penalty on there so it doesn't lock us into 5-year cycles.
Depending on your answer, Commissioner Harvey, that'll take me down a different road as well, so.
So I'm just not sure I'm understanding. So you think the 5-year intervals is what needs to be taken out? Is that what you're saying?
Really just anything after a penalty, because anything beyond that really is something we can put in a resolution to decide how we're going to look at that and when we're going to look at that and how often and by who. And that would be in a resolution to set that process up. But this just says that we're going to ask them to put the right to terminate the agreement without penalty, and that's it, as part of the TBA contract.
So my question to Attorney Street is, don't we have to specify a time period there?
I just want to make sure I understand, you're talking about scratching everything from that point forward?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No, not necessarily. I mean, we sign contracts all the time here in Sullivan County that says, for example, this contract's for 10 years, that either party has the right to cancel the contract on 60 days notice. We sign that quite often. I mean, what's the legal effect of that? It's really a 60-day contract. But we sign them all the time. And of course, the motivation for it is that you don't have to renew it every 60 days. We have a lot of agreements where, like with cooperation agreements, there's one on today of renewing a City of Kingsport agreement. If you think you're going to renew it and renew it and renew it, you say it's a 10-year contract, but either party has the right to cancel it on 60 days notice. So that way you don't have to keep renewing it. If nobody wants to cancel it, you just keep going. So anyway, to answer your question, no, you don't necessarily have. You could say it could be canceled at any time for no reason or any reason. Or you could say every 60 days, or you could say every 5 years. You can put in there whatever you want to put.
So I would accept that if we could put without penalty at what you just said, at any time. How did you word that?
for any or no reason. It's just typical language.
At any time,
For any or no reason.
for any or no reason.
Commissioner Iverson, do you wish to offer your amendment in that way? And keep in mind, we're amending an amendment. I'm keeping track. We're amending an amendment.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Harvey, could you say your language after that, without penalty, you said, and I couldn't understand actually what the.
Shall include language explicitly granting Sullivan County the right to terminate the agreement without penalty at any time and for any or no reason.
It was the language that the attorney said, so that'd be fine. I mean, it's your amendments, I mean, if you, I'm good with that.
Commissioner Harvey, do you accept his amendment to your amendment?
Yes.
Now that takes us to a different place. You wish to offer that, you'll need to offer that back to Commissioner Jones so I can ask him if he accepts it.
Well, I can't find that it says without penalty. It just says that in the event the guarantee, which is us, shall cease to use the easement for the purpose of public recreation, for public recreation purposes for a period of 2 consecutive years or more, or regardless of the time period, then there's no penalty. They just take it over. That's in the contract.
So Commissioner, do you agree?
That's what they are saying is Hamilton, they just take it over.
And if you're renewing your amendment, I've got two other folks that probably have questions on the amendment. Is that your desire, Commissioner Harvey, renew your amended amendment?
What I just stated?
Yes, you renew your amendment.
Without penalty at any time for any reason, for any or no reason. Correct.
Recognize Commissioner McMurray on the amendment.
Yeah, and I'd kind of like to talk about something that Commissioner Jones brought up. What we need in this, if we are going down this road, all right, 5-year intervals, we need the option to renew, all right? We get the option to renew it up to 30 years. What we want is the potential to use this property up to 30 years. If we are just doing it at 5-year intervals, that means that at the end of 5 years, TVA could say, you know what, we're going to give it to somebody else. There's a marina that's going to pay more money or do something else with it. So we need the option to renew. That would lock us in to that 30-year period. And as to the amendment of the amendment, one thing that I think we both need to keep in mind is what's the motivation of both sides. I think we've articulated our apprehension in locking ourselves in a future governing body in the county into a very big lease for many, many years. But what's TVA? What do they want? What they want, and we all know it, they want this property to be used. And so I don't know how they're going to feel when we give them a contract that's going to say 60 days we might be out of here. They want to know that we're going to at least try to use this property up to 30 years. So I don't know how they're going to take that, and you know, we're kind of speculating at this point. I wish there was somebody here from TVA that could maybe help us out. But please, 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 if we do the 5-year, let's at least put in the option to renew up to 30 years.
Well, if I may, the agreement says in the first paragraph, a non-exclusive term easement for a term of 30 years from the effective date hereof for public recreation purposes for the construction, maintenance, development, and operation thereof and therein of a public recreation area, associated improvements and recreation facilities as may be authorized in advance and writing of the guarantor, which is TVA. So we call them all the time, even if we're painting a building, which we don't even have to. They call, Chris calls and gets their permission, tells them what we're doing on anything we do out there. Including but not limited to improvements such as camping sites, picnic facilities, tennis courts, horseshoe areas, it lists a whole proliferation of activities that would be in a recreational area, all for the benefit and enjoyment of the general public. That's what TVA wants. That's why they developed their lands. They just had a study done, and they sent me a copy of it, that University of Tennessee did a study. What's the value of shoreline? $1 million a mile is the value of shoreline from TVA across. It's worth billions of dollars. So this is valuable property to them, and they're willing to, we've been in it 50 years now, they're willing to give us a 30-year contract, and they told us why they're doing 30 years now instead of 25. And they're just doing that. That's their boilerplate contract. It's 30 years. Did I answer that question?
Oh, yeah. But I don't know.
Recognize Commissioner Crosswhite on the amendment, and then Commissioner Cross.
Thank you, Chairman. I think we all agree we want this park open. This park is doing well, but I agree with Ms. Harvey. 30 years is a long time. We've seen what's happened in the past with COVID. This park could shut down in 5 years. And I also agree with Commissioner McMurray that we need to see if this contract could be reviewed every 5 years. But I think we're in agreement that we want it open, so we just need to settle how we're going to do it.
Commissioner Cross. Oh, excuse me.
Well, I would just say that I read 2 or 3 times already. TVA's put in there, if you cease to use it, they take it over. That's, their position is.
And we're still on the amendment, by the way. We're still on the amendment, not the resolution as a whole. We're on the amendment. So, Commissioner Law.
We're on the amendment, we need to vote on the amendment and move forward and get this over with, one way or another. Call for the question, take a vote, let's go.
Okay, let's back up on the call of the question, because we'll have to vote on the question, and then we'll have to vote on the amendment. So is everybody ready to vote on the amendment?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey, if you wouldn't mind, read your amendment one last time so everybody knows what they're voting on.
Any newly drafted, updated, or extended contract related to the 30-year lease agreement with the Tennessee Valley Authority shall include language explicitly granting Sullivan County the right to terminate the agreement without penalty at any time for any reason or for no reason, for any or no reason.
You've heard the amendment. When the board opens, please cast your vote on the amendment. A yes vote approves the amendment. Requires 13 votes for passage. Oh, we're going to do a roll call? Okay. We're going to do a roll call vote. So when your name is... We can do a roll call, just probably have the roll call done by the time. Okay. So when your name is called, a yes vote approves the amended amendment.
Baker,
Yes.
Houghton. No. Carr,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Cross,
No.
Crosswhite,
Yes.
Gardner,
Yes.
Glover,
Yes.
Harvey,
Yes.
Hayes,
No.
Horn,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Jones,
No.
King,
Yes.
Leonard,
Yes.
Locke,
Yes.
McMurray,
Yes.
Means, Pierce, Slagle,
Yes.
Stidham, Vanover,
Yes.
Ward.
No.
Would anybody like to change their vote?
Clerk?
Yes, 5 no, 3 absent.
Having received the necessary majority of the votes cast, item number 2 is amended. Recognize Commissioner Jones on item number 2.
That would be the amended version to sign a new contract with TVA Authority and replace it to send a letter of intent. So,
You renew your motion for passage.
move motion for passage. Thank you.
Commissioner Jones renews his motion for passage. Item number 2 requires 13 votes for passage. When the board opens, please cast your vote on item number 2 as amended. Commissioner Locke, if you'll present. Thank you. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk.
21 yes, 3 absent.
Having received the necessary majority of the votes cast, item number 2 is adopted. Without objection, I recognize Commissioner Iverson on item number 3.
Thank you, Chairman. Item number 3 is what we talked about during the work session about the body cams. Did find some good news about it. Year number 1, those funds are going to come from ARPA funds. It's not going to come out of our general fund balance. Years 2 through 5 will come out of the sheriff's office budget, and they'll take care of that amendments throughout the year. But so there'll be no funds out of our fund balance for this first part. They asked if there was a way, I think Commissioner Jones asked if we could actually see a model of the body cam, and I believe that, would you like to come up and show that, please, sir? Oh, that's right, and tell Joe Carr too, I heard.
Yeah, Joe Carter.
We'd like that. Do y'all want to pass it around, or you want Captain Lane to explain the Axon body cams?
Okay, that'd be perfect, just explain.
So this is the Axon 4 body cam that we will have here at the Sheriff's Office. There's different mounts that go on the back of this. You wear the uniform like the Sheriff does with a traditional shirt, or the type of outer vest carrier that I wear, that they'll be mounted onto the front of the uniform. Operation's very simple with it. Batteries contained inside of it. Almost indestructible, kind of like a very strong cell phone or a MacBook, something like that. Has 4 microphones on the outside of it, a camera, activation button. Then up on the front top of it, it has 2 speakers and a little LED screen that shows whether the camera is activated or not. On the bottom of it, it's got a charging port. The charging port on it is a USB-C, so just like a standard iPhone charger for the phones that are out today.
Does it display a light if it's on or when it's recorded?
So there's 3 lights located on the front of it. So when you activate it, the lights light up on the outside of it. Also, if you're in a situation where it's dark outside, you don't want to be lit up with it, you can also turn those lights off.
And it automatically, do you have to activate it yourself as an officer, or is there an automatic activation? And how long does that record? And does it automatically send it to a storage unit?
And then we'll recognize Commissioner Crawford. He has his button pushed. That's a trick, right? Just never turn it off. Go ahead.
So to activate the body cam, it's activated 2 separate ways. You can push the body cam, a double tap on the front of it turns it on. It'll have what's called a buffer mode. So if you see the body cam footage where it goes back and shows like 30 seconds before an incident, before the voice starts on it, so it's always recording on that part of it. So when you push the button on the front of it, it activates it. Also, the new Taser 7s that the commission approved that we're going to, also when one of those is unholstered, it'll automatically stop the body cam also. To upload the body cam, goes to the Sheriff's Office, be plugged in to the port on the bottom of it, can upload. Also, it has the capability on it where an officer can push the button on the side of it. It's called a Watch Me button. And at that time, it can signify to a supervisor that, hey, I need somebody else to pay attention to what's going on. So kind of like an emergency button on it also. The camera footage on it, it'll be downloaded each shift. It'll be categorized by our calls are assigned what's called a CAD number at the Sheriff's Office. Those will be categorized by that, so each call will be assigned a number, each video will be assigned a number.
Mr. Crawford?
Thank you, Chairman. How long will the battery life be on one of the cameras?
13.
With one charge, how long can it be activated?
13 hours.
13 hours?
Yes.
What's the expected lifetime of the battery?
So our contract that we will go into with Axon, so if there's a problem that comes up with the battery, we'll be able to send it back to Axon, and they will send us a replacement. Along with the body cams also, they will refurbish those or replace those at 30 months and again at 60 months. So we will get all new equipment in 30 months.
The regular contract?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Commissioner Harrison?
Just saying that I'm really happy that I was able to be part of this. I appreciate the sheriff and a lot of our conversations, but as I went through just a second whereas on this, I started reading some of the benefits. And it says the use of a law enforcement body camera has been proven to improve officer safety, increase evidence quality, reduce civilian complaints, reduce agency liability, and improve public trust. And I think any of those are worth what we're doing. But I really appreciate it, and just forward my motion.
Commissioner Slade?
Commissioner Harrison, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Would you mind to make that as an amendment in the resolution that the first year funds would be coming out of ARPA?
Oh, I don't mind at all. I was actually, thought I had on here was gonna be coming out of, the budget lines of the director, but, absolutely, I don't mind at all, because we've got that set up, absolutely, we'll do that.
The second part, very different question, sorry.
Can I ask you one question?
Sure, yeah.
So, just putting parentheses by year one, the number of ARPA funds, would that be fine? If that would be, okay, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make that amendment.
Second portion on that, you guys are subject matter experts on this piece, but storage wise. So I think in the agreement, we're paying, I don't have an exact, $65 a terabyte. So have we scoped what we're buying from a storage capacity to meet the statute of limitations of up to potentially a year? Or are we scaled for that?
We're good.
Storage?
We're good on the storage part for the storage for a year and for the usage of it.
Do we have the amount of storage that we need through Axon, through their cloud services, or? Okay.
Mr. Gluck?
That was one of the questions that I had, because Attorney Street last week brought that question up, and he wanted enough storage to do for a year, I think is what he said. Mr. Iverson, I served on the Finance Committee. Was these bidded out? Why did we not go through the bid process on these?
I can speak to that if you'd like. So these.
Mr. Kennedy, if you'll come up, sir.
Yeah. Now, we don't have to bid out the Axon body camera because it is on a co-op. So we have a contract with that co-op. I've already talked to Chris about it. So this should be good. And this is actually a preference for most other law enforcement across the country. So the reason why it wasn't bid out. Okay. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Iverson?
Renew my motion, sir.
Sponsor renews his motion on.
And I would like to amend it to Commissioner Jones at the work session asked anyone voting for a positive be on as a co-sponsor, so I'd like to add that as well.
Sponsor renews his motion on item number 3. Without objection, when the board opens, please cast your vote on item number 3. Hunter. I'll have to, I'm gonna walk down here from here on. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk.
21 yes, 3 absent.
Having received the necessary majority of the votes cast, item number 3 is adopted.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioner. I really appreciate it.
Next order. Should take us to item number 15, if I'm correct. Is that item 15 or is it 7? 7. Recognize Commissioner Iverson on item number 7.
There were only 2 of the resolutions for the school system that had some comments and concerns or questions. This is just for them to enter a 60-month lease with a copier, and I'm not sure, but I think Commissioner Akers will want to be as a co-sponsor. Maybe he wants to sponsor this one since he likes the copy. But other than that, sir.
Heard the explanation on item number 7. The floor is open for discussion. Recognize Commissioner Akers for item number 7.
Thank you. Yes, I already had it highlighted on here for execute a 60-month lease at $16.07 per month plus per copy cost with Canon Solutions of America, Inc., as recommended by the Sullivan County Board of Education. We've talked a lot about contracts. We talked a lot about them last week. And, you know, I've made comments that we will spend more time on copier leases than we do some time on multi-year contracts. And the reason being, you know, we're spending money in budget years that we haven't even accepted a budget. And so that's why we really got to take serious when we authorize multi-year payment solutions to whatever, that we really look into it. And so yeah, I already have this one highlighted. Absolutely, put me as a co-sponsor and everything else you want on this. But it is frustrating, you know, we do have to actually talk about $16 a month copy leases. You know, it's not gonna change, no matter how much I ask. I know Mr. Larry Bailey, you know, I'm asking it just won't change. But that's why, you know, it's important. We had a 30-year lease for TVA. We had a situation last week we still probably will discuss. When we're spending money, we need to make sure we know what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Commissioner Harrison.
I renew my motion. Waiver of rules, yes, sir.
Sponsor renews his motion for passage of item number 7 on waiver of rules. From the board of Commissioner Calhoun. You pressed your button to be recognized. When the board opens, please cast your vote on item number 7, requiring 16 votes for passage, waiver of rules. I vote yes. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk.
21 yes, 3 absent.
Having received the necessary majority of the votes cast, item number 7 is approved. Without objection, recognize the Commissioner. Now, are we on 15 now? That's a big jump. Recognize Commissioner Crosswhite on item number 15.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm sure you all read this, but I'll go ahead and give you an overview on it. This is a grant from the Tennessee Emergency Management and Homeland Security for providing specific training to local hazardous materials technicians. 75% of that, or $18,000, will be provided by TEMA, and 25%, or $4,500, the local share will be funded through the kind-in waiver with no money requested. Kingsport Bristol's hazardous material teams provide the necessary response to Sullivan County and the rural areas for any and all hazardous materials responses. The participants within this class are paid employees of the cities of Kingsport and Bristol Fire Department, and their salaries can be used to meet the in-kind requirements. So altogether, this is a grant of $18,000. It will not cost the county anything, and I want to put it on waiver rules, please.
You've heard the explanation on item number 15. Commissioner Crosswhite moves waiver of rules on item number 15 for immediate consideration. Heard the explanation, any discussion on item number 15.
Mr. Bench, if he has any questions.
Anyone have any questions? Floor is open for discussion on item number 15. Seeing none, when the board opens, please cast your vote on item number 15, requiring 16 votes for passage. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk.
21 yes, 3 absent.
Having received the necessary majority of the votes cast, item number 15 is adopted. Without objection, recognize Commissioner Crosswhite on item number 16.
Thank you, Chairman. This is another grant that it's coming from the Tennessee Emergency Management, Homeland Security, and 100% of this, no requirements, matching funds for Sullivan County, and it's a total of $73,269. And this, like I said, is coming from Tennessee Emergency Management Agency and Homeland Security. So this is to purchase equipment and training. So I'd like to have this on waiver rules too, please.
You've heard the explanation of item number 16. Sponsor moves waiver of rules for immediate consideration. The floor is open for discussion. Without objection, when the board opens, please cast your vote on item number 16, requiring 16 votes for passage. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk.
21 yes, 3 absent.
Having received the necessary majority of the votes cast, item number 16 is approved. Without objection, recognize Commissioner Slagle on item number 17.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a resolution to support new passenger air service at Tri-Cities Airport, whereas Sullivan County Commission adopted resolution 2024-1103 Authorizing the county to enter into an agreement with Bridge to incentivize new passenger service at Tri-Cities Airport. As stated in 2024-11-3, Bridge is a privately funded regional economic development organization. Whereas Resolution 2024-11-3 designated up to $10,000 a month from Sullivan County portion of the hotel motel tax over 2 years to assist the airport in funding revenue guarantees to incentivize new passenger service routes. And whereas Sullivan County Commission hereby expresses their support for assisting the airport in funding revenue guarantees to incentivize new passenger service routes. Whereas Sullivan County Commission directs that the $10,000 a month from the hotel motel tax revenues, that should also say from the Sullivan County portion, over 2 years, be held in trust in accounts appropriately determined by the Office of the Sullivan County Departments of Accounts and Budgets. Whereas the Sullivan County Commission hereby recognizes the existence of their economic development organizations such as Sullivan County Networks. Whereas the Sullivan County Commission hereby acknowledges that a plan of action for funding by additional regional, private, and public organizations has not been presented or considered. Whereas Sullivan County Commission hereby acknowledges that the airport's campaign for air service expansion has not matured to a point of final consideration. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of County Commissioners directs that the funding designated in Resolution 2024-11-3 be held in a trust by Sullivan County until such time as the funding is allocated to an organization that is to be determined by a resolution duly adopted by this body.
You've heard the explanation of item number 17. The floor is open for discussion. Recognize Commissioner Iverson.
Yes, sir. I know that this was from last month when we actually voted this through. One thing I will say is on that last whereas, as far as the airport's campaign for air service expansion is not matured to the point of final consideration, that's actually not true. They already have the airline, they have the destinations, they're just looking for funding. So it is definitely matured to the point of final consideration. They're just trying to get it approved. The second part, as far as trying to get someone to do it, I talked with Gene Cossey today, which is the airport director, and he said for the last, I hate to say the number, I'm going to say 4 to 6, because I think he said 5 or 6, so 4 to 6 years. The airport is restricted by federal law. It cannot go out and try to attract additional airlines. So because of that, they need a third party to do it. They've asked for several years now trying to get it. Talked to Clay Walker today. I don't want to put words into his mouth, but he said that's not his expertise. He said he thinks people need to stay in their lanes and he on economic development. He said it's something that, since we provide 51% of their funding, if we tell him to do it, then he'll try to do it. But it's not his expertise and he's not lined up with that. I asked the director why we didn't use Netta, and he said he asked Alicia. Alicia said her and her team could not do it. They're not set up for that and they would not be wanting to do that. So it came down to there was no option, there was no other source, and that's how the bridge was involved. So I don't know who it is that you're wanting to try to get to do it, but the only people that have offered to do it are now doing it.
Commissioner Vano.
That was my question also. Who you suppose could do this besides the body that we had in the resolution last month?
I propose that the body that we had in the resolution last month wasn't made clear to this commission, would be what I'm suggesting, and I'm also proposing that we do not use that organization to utilize as a third party for this, and that we do bring other organizations to entertain us, specifically networks. You guys heard the presentation earlier. We don't need to be strong-armed into a definition of regionalism from a third party that's not taking any action in this region, nor one that we don't support, nor one that we don't fund. And then this is Sullivan County taxpayer money. I don't need the bridge to hold it for us. We don't need it to hold it for us. We don't need it to hold it account for them. We can hold this money ourselves. It's $240,000 gift card. This airline's ready to receive it. We can find a party to work with that already works with Sullivan County to do it.
Who do you propose?
Open for this body to consider.
I don't know if there is anyone else. I mean, that's my concern. I know Netta turned it down, Networks turned it down. The only body that...
I'd like to see an official turn down from Networks in writing.
I've heard it verbally.
I need it in writing.
Well,
with all due respect, I don't think that the word of we should trust the bridge in a resolution, I prefer to see that in writing, because Networks declined it.
Until we can get further information, I'd like to ask for this to be deferred to next month.
It's first reading.
That's fine. Are you declaring first reading now?
Yes. I just want to, there was so much discussion, I think, last week, and I know it's privilege of, go ahead.
If you're declaring first reading now, that cuts off the discussion. So are you sure you wish to declare first reading now?
No.
Well, I'm giving the opportunity to I do want to give people the opportunity to talk about the resolutions, but the language is if you move first reading, that cuts off the discussion from that point. So I'm just letting you know that. Now, Commissioner Moore, please. Commissioner Slagle, you have the floor, sir. You have the floor, Mr. Slagle.
Questions?
You're going to stay open for questions. Commissioner Aker.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. You know, this, I'm not an elected member of Congress, but it's almost kind of like Obamacare. Let's pass it and see what's in it first. And that's the biggest frustration with that resolution last month. We have no memorandum of understanding with the bridge. We have no, the resolution really just states, here's up to $10,000 a month. And that's what we're trying to, we support I support the new airlines coming in. It doesn't even say what if they don't get the funding, you know? That's why we've got to have some type of memorandum of understanding or something to work towards. And I think that's what this resolution, and that's what we're working towards for in January. Because we all want something to happen, tourism, airlines, and such. But just, you know, and I still, again, I apologize for not being here in November. I mean, I wasn't. But there was a rush to get this thing through when we're not even a founding member of the bridge or what the name change was. And that's what the frustrating thing is. We've had more discussion on it since it got passed than apparently we did to pass it. And that's frustrating. That's why a lot of these other resolutions are getting caught up. If we're going to sign contracts for multi-year things and spend money, we've learned our lesson, we're going to ask questions, you know, so.
Commissioner Glover.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There is a lot of unanswered questions. I want to start out to say that last week I was completely flabbergasted when I found out that my resolution was rescinded. I've been a commissioner here for 6.5 years. I've never known of that happening in this room before that way. And I'm going to ask Attorney Street at this time if he stands 100% by the support that he gave last week, that my resolution was rescinded and is no longer in value since that resolution from Commissioner Iverson,
Commissioner Glover, if I may interject, do you have any questions or comments on this specific resolution for the sponsor? No. Okay, can we, let's keep our conversation to this resolution, then we can come back to that at the end of the meeting, if that's okay. But I want to get through the resolution first.
Okay. Commissioner Slade, put me down as a co-sponsor, please.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Iverson. On the resolution, please.
I'm not sure if it's on the resolution or if it's to answer a question that was specifically said.
You can, if you have an answer to a question now.
So, it was said that we didn't discuss things, and that's actually not true, sir. I'm sorry that you feel that way, because we did discuss it. And we did discuss what happens if this doesn't happen, and we talked about that when we were given 50% to that and 50% to the other. We said, what happens if this falls apart? And we said, nothing. The money doesn't go anywhere, it fails, if the airline doesn't come.
Okay.
So that's not an accurate statement.
I want to recognize Commissioner Harvey. Question, comments on the resolution?
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to...
He withdrew that. Commissioner Jones, he withdrew his first reading so he could and do questions. He withdrew that, which was proper. Commissioner Harvey.
So I just want to clarify that I think the issue is not whether or not there's support for this new airline, because I believe most of us in here agree that that's very good thing. I think the concern was that we're responsible for Sullivan County taxpayer money and making sure that we have control of that. And so, I mean, I think it's simple as that. And I don't think anybody's trying to say anybody wasn't being truthful either way or anyway. It's just that given that we have new information, let's go back and look at, are there other options? Does this make more sense?
Commissioner Cross.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I agree with the resolution. I agree with what you're trying to do. My only question would be, at the end of the day, if we pass this, if this goes through, we hold this money, we do all that, if we find out that organization is the only one and they've collected all the other funds, are we willing then to release those funds to that organization?
It just have to be, as a vote of this board, if this resolution passes, if there's an organization selected, then this commission needs to approve that at that time. So I think to maybe answer your question a little differently, I think we need to get formal responses from those that might be willing to participate as a third party.
I can support that, thank you.
Sir.
Commissioner Akers.
Thank you, Commissioner Chairman Gardner. So this resolution mentions resolution number 2024-11-03. Resolution to authorize county to enter into an agreement with Bridge to incentivize new passenger air service to Tri-Cities Airport, whereas tourism, growing industry in Sullivan County, where tourists having spent more than $300 million in the county in 2023, a figure representing 3% increase over the previous year, and whereas tourism industry in Sullivan County employs around 2,638 people, whereas tourism in Sullivan County generates more than $600,000 in county occupant tax each year. Whereas the Tri-Cities Airport is uniquely positioned to increase those figures by increasing the number of travelers arriving here and at the same time lowering the average fare. And whereas supporting the minimum revenue guarantee for expanded air service will in turn support increased tourism in Sullivan County and surrounding communities. And whereas Bridge, a privately funded regional economic development organization, has volunteered to serve as a fundraising partner for the airport's air service expansion campaign. And whereas the Tri-Cities Airport, in cooperation with Bridge and air service consultant Meade and Hunt, is actively recruiting new passenger air service routes to increase the positive economic impact of tourism and business travel in our county and community. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Sullivan County hereby designates up to $10,000 a month from the hotel motel tax revenue over 2 years, a total of $240,000, to assist the airport in funding revenue guarantees to incentivize new passenger service routes. This resolution shall take effect from and after its passage. All resolutions in conflict herewith be the same rescinded, insofar as such conflicts exist. Now, I've said from day one, we should talk about facts, figures, rules, and regulations. There is not one thing in that resolution that says, well, if they don't get the funding, we're not on the line. Well, if they don't do this, we're not on the line. It specifically states, at passage, we are on the line for up to $10,000, for up to $240,000 for 24 months. That's why I think we should have a memorandum of understanding. That's why I think we should have more transparency about how they're going to ask for the money, when they're going to ask for the money. Not just, well, that's what they say. So yes, that resolution I just read into the record, again, does not answer any of those things, Commissioner Iverson, and I'm sorry. That's all I'm asking is we need to have our taxpayers' money covered under that, and nothing in that resolution says that.
Commissioner Vanover.
If there needs to be a memorandum of understanding, doesn't it clarify what you're asking, that's fine. We'll ask for that. But I'm really disappointed that we would even take a chance on jeopardizing this resolution. This is a good thing for Sullivan County. Does anybody have any doubt about that? I mean, if it goes to fruition, if we have 2 new airlines, we have 2 new direct flights, we have people coming into the airport, more people in our county, more hotel motel money, more sales tax money, that's a good thing for Sullivan County, and no one can dispute that. This is a good thing for Sullivan County, and I would be very disappointed that we jeopardize that it's not just us giving money, it's all the owners of the airport. They're not just us. So who else is gonna hold the money? We're gonna hold all the money? We can't do that. It's gotta be a third party to hold the money and to do this deal. No one else has stepped up, everyone else has been asked, they've declined. This is the only organization that has stepped up and said they can do this. You just gotta ask yourself, this is good for Sullivan County. It's good for Sullivan County.
Recognize Commissioner Glover.
I'm still,
Oh,
yeah, who's up, Philip?
you still had your mic on?
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
I put Sam Jones.
I recognize Commissioner Aker, then Commissioner Glover.
You're exactly right. Could not agree with you more about the opportunity that's why when you say, well, everyone else is going to fund it, well, actually, the director said they hope everyone else funds it up to our standards. Again, we don't know. They don't know us anything. That's why some type of memorandum of understanding, opportunity for them to be transparent, let us know what's going on is extremely important. Couldn't agree with you more. Because maybe no one else will. We don't know. You know? And such.
This is on the resolution, Mr. Chairman. You said you spoke to Clay today about this.
Yes, sir.
Well, why didn't you speak to him before this came in here? Why didn't you negotiate with him on the front end, Mark? You're saying you talked to him today and asked him if he'd handle it. Why was Networks not approached on the front end?
That's sort of gray as well, not set on the resolution, but you can ask Commissioner Iverson a question, I'll give him an opportunity to answer. Iverson.
When the airport decided that it needed this airline service, and they've been asking for a long time, and they found someone that was willing to do it, the director of the airport told me that they had talked with Ned and they had talked with Clay. And I asked Clay today, and his initial thing, I don't want to put words in his mouth, I'm not sure if he's still out here or not. His initial words to me is, I don't want to do that. Not in my, he said, it's not in my lane. I'd like to stay in my lane was his words. It's not in my purview. I'm an economic development. I don't want to worry about that part. If you make me, or if that group wants me to, you pay 51% of my salary. If that's what you want me to do, I guess I'll do it. But I don't want to. Why did I not talk to him? Because it wasn't my decision. I had no deciding factor on who actually did this. The airline wants to come. The airport can't do it. The airport needs a third party, and one party stepped up and said they would do it. That's the only thing that happened. You're trying to find smoking gun, and there is no smoking gun. There was one group that was willing to do this. They said thank you, and they moved forward. That's it. They're not holding our money. We're not sending them money. They're saying, here is a monthly check, starts in June. If the air service starts in May, this is how much money is there. This is how much money it's going to cost. They do the math, and they say this is how much money Sullivan County does, up to $10,000. And then they send the check to the airline. I guess I'm saying, are they going to hold it long enough to write their check and send it out? Okay, sure. But they're not holding our $240,000. Could it have been written better? Maybe so. I mean, maybe I messed up on the whole writing of it, but it was very clearly stated here, as we had our conversations, how's it going to work? If they approve the airline, if the airline decides to come, if it happens, it'll happen in May. If it happens in May, our first check will be in June. They will tell us how much we owe, we'll send it in. That's the end of it. I mean, every single resolution we write in here, we discuss how it will be implemented. Every time that there's any kind of financial thing, the financial director has to look at every one of them and says, how is this supposed to work? And they have to put numbers to it. So to sit back and say that it should have had every bit of that in there, maybe you're right. Maybe I should have put the 6 months. Maybe I should have put starting in June. Maybe those things should have. And I'll look at that in the future and I'll try to make sure that I have them exactly right. But there's no freaking way anybody in here is going to get it perfect. We can try our best. I tried my best. We've talked about every aspect of this and we discussed every part of it at that meeting. It was all talked about and addressed.
Commissioner Slagle.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of debate here and discussion, obviously, that needs to be had. We can go over next month for vote. First reading.
Sponsor moves first reading on item number 17. That takes us to the end of the written agenda. Commissioner Glover, on Recognize Commissioner Glover.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's come to my attention in the last day or so that Commissioner Block has stepped down as Sullivan County Coroner. And by law, we have to have a coroner in place. And at this time, I would like to nominate Dr. William D. Hudson as coroner for Sullivan County.
Commissioner Glover nominates Dr. Hudson, Sullivan County Coroner. That's a proper motion, proper second by Commissioner Akert, Cowton, Locke. Floor is open for discussion. Recognize Commissioner Street.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that being a county office, we have to run notice of that.
Not a county office.
We sure did.
How is it? Contracted services. We don't have an office.
It's the county office.
We didn't do it.
You wish to seek recognition, Commissioner Locke?
You didn't put a notice out last time.
Press your button. I think I told them they should if they did.
It's my understanding that office is under contracted services. Am I correct? Mr. Biden, am I correct?
It is paid as a contractor.
Okay.
My motion stands.
Yes. I'll second that.
Recognize Commissioner Locke.
Take a vote.
Attorney Street, do you?
I got him up.
Anyone else have any questions, comments on the appointment? Commissioner Ward.
Can't help myself. What's the point of having Dan Street sitting up there as our county attorney if we ain't gonna listen to him? I mean, it seems like every resolution we ought to do, there's too many therefores and where-tos and therefore and whereases, and I'm not sure why we don't run every resolution through his office to make sure it's all right. But now he's giving us advice as a county attorney, and we're not listening to him, so I'm not. Maybe when somebody makes a motion to do away with Dan, if we're not going to listen to him, I think he holds a valuable and important position. We ought to at least listen to him.
Commissioner McMurray.
In the event that a coroner position is a county employee, what if we had an interim coroner as Dr. Hudson while we ran notice, and then we can revisit that issue and just approve it?
Commissioner Glover.
Still renew my motion. It's under contracted services, so I renew my motion for passage.
What is our worst case scenario? I do want to ask you this, because Attorney Street.
Let's do that.
That is our safest bet. You wish to reintroduce based on Commissioner McMurray's suggestion?
What are we gonna do for a coroner in the meantime?
Interim.
Who's gonna do, oh, you're gonna do,
Hudson.
Dr. Hudson as interim?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Commissioner Glover moves that Dr. Hudson be the interim coroner until we publish it in the paper. Second by Commissioner Akert. Any further discussion? We can do a roll call vote on that. All those in favor of Dr. Hudson signify by saying yes.
Aye.
That'd be a voice vote, what we just did. Let's do a roll call.
Akert,
Yes.
Cowton,
Absolutely.
Carr,
Yes.
Cole, Crawford,
Yes.
Cross,
Yes.
Crosswhite,
Yes.
Gardner,
Yes.
Glover,
Yes.
Harvey,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Horn,
Yeah.
Myerson,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Leonard,
Yes.
Law,
Yes.
McMurray,
Yes.
Means. Pierce. Slagle.
Yes.
Stidham. Vanover.
Yes.
Ward.
Yes, ma'am.
Would anybody like to change their vote? 21 yes, 3 absent.
Having received the necessary majority of votes cast, Dr. Hudson is appointed interim coroner until the position is filled. Next order is public comment on items not on the agenda. We have 4 people signed up for that. I want to recognize in order that they signed up, Malin Luttrell.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners, and thank you for allowing me the time to come before you. You have to excuse my voice, for a lot of signage raining down in here in the last few days. For the record, my name is Malin Luttrell, and I live at 224 Memory Lane in the city of Bristol, Tennessee. I'm also a taxpayer to Sullivan County and the city of Bristol, Tennessee. I'm also currently still a member of the Bristol, Tennessee City Council through December the 31st. I'm not here to represent City Council. But before I go on, I would like to concur with what Mr. Walker presented earlier this evening, and I fully support his comments. A lot of things have been said, and I'm not going to rehash a lot of the conversation that's going on. I'll wait till next month and I will return to the meeting. I would like to say that I know that Mr. Glover has been made out to look like a villain in local papers' editorials, but I feel that he has been asking the right questions, raising appropriate concerns over the lack of information, and I fully support what he was saying. Please remember that being transparent is always the best approach. And at this time, I'd just like to say thank you for your time. I wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next on the list, and excuse me if I mispronounce your name, Jay Backdoff. Oh, Jay. What is it?
It's Baldoff. It's J. Baldoff.
Jay Baldoff.
449 Lakeshore Road, Bluff City, Tennessee, and I'm here to represent the Avoca Volunteer Fire Department. Reporting on some sad news. Yesterday, we lost our oldest and last founding member of the Avoca Volunteer Fire Department, Billy D. Rutherford, and I just wanted to inform you all about that. Billy was a founding member of the Avoca Volunteer Fire Department in 1959 when he returned from his military service with the Army. And to put into perspective, in 1959, I was 1 year old. Most of you here probably weren't born in 1959. Billy held multiple positions in the fire department, from firefighter to lieutenant to captain to assistant chief to chief. His current position was assistant chief emeritus, and he was 90 years old. I had the honor of chauffeuring him around in the parades on Saturday, both the Bluntville Parade and the Bluff City Parade. Billy was honored this year for his 90th birthday by Mayor Venable with a mayoral proclamation that we had a nice party for him in July, and we had a hot dog supper that the mayor kicked himself because he missed the supper. Joyce was there with her husband Kelly, and we had a really nice time. And we did a lot of good things for Billy this year that I'm glad we did. Billy was a sweetheart, and his funeral is going to be at the Adeline United Methodist Church on Avoca Road tomorrow. Visitation is from 1 to 2. The funeral's at 2 o'clock, and it'll be followed by the burial. I can't remember exactly where the burial is right now, but you're all invited if you've got the time to come out and honor this man. He gave 65 years of public service to this county, and you know, he deserves your recognition. And he was a great man, and I just wanted to let you all know about him, and you know what an honor it was to serve with him for the last 3.5 years and to be his friend. And that's about all I had to say, and wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you, thank you. Victoria Hunt.
My name is Victoria Mills Hunt, 4257 Rockhold Road, Bluff City. Hi, everybody. Okay, so this may actually go back to your agenda tonight. I didn't know it was coming up, but before I was just a little farmer out here on the river, I used to fly. And I used to fly a lot for the government. I wish I still had my frequent flyer miles and I could go to Japan to see my kid for free. That's how much I flew. You do not necessarily need a new airline. You need more destinations. When I had to go to DC, I would drive down to Tyson because it would get me straight to Dulles. If I had to go to Denver, I would go to Charlotte because it'd get me straight to Denver. Because why would I want to fly out of here just to get to those places and lay over and wonder if my luggage is going to meet me there. A quick little Google search of flightsfrom.com. Tyson McGee has 30 destinations. Asheville has 26. Tri-Cities has 5. That's it. You need more destinations, not so much an airline. The other thing that I would like to discuss is my understanding is Sullivan County is an open government and there's supposed to be transparency. If there is transparency, then, and I knew this, y'all just get to know me. But if I get on the county website, I can't find out which committee any of you are on. I can't find out when your terms are up on your committees. I don't know who's in the public that are on these committees and when their terms are up. I can't find draft agendas to any of these committees. I can't find the minutes to these committees. Where's the transparency on that? If I can't make it, I couldn't make it to the planning meeting this past Tuesday. Where am I supposed to find out the information that I missed? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Janine Girelli, correct?
It's John Lee.
John Lee.
The J is right, that's okay.
In my defense, I can read, I just can't see.
That's okay. Your heart was in it. Good
Thank you
evening,
for reading.
everyone. My name is Janine Johnally. I'm actually here from Ellenwood, Georgia. I'm with the Small Business Administration, their Disaster Recovery and Resilience Division, and I'm here representing, I'm here for the contact person for Sullivan County. So I just wanted to let you all know that Sullivan County was declared eligible for small business owners, affected small business owners and nonprofits to qualify for economic injury disaster loans. And so what that does is it's to provide economic support, long-term recovery options. They are government loans versus bank loans, so they're much more flexible in terms of the credit score that would be needed and the low interest rates that would be favorable to people in need. And I just wanted to highlight some of the benefits for those who need to apply for the loans. So affected individuals could qualify for up to $2 million to maintain necessary financial obligations. This could be equipment, payroll, machinery. There's no payment and there's no interest for the first 12 months. And those who apply do not need to wait for their insurance to settle before applying. So I have flyers with me, both in English and Spanish, and I'm happy to share any resources digitally or in person. I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm here on site for about a month, and I just wanted to introduce myself and let you guys know I'm here to support the community.
Feel free to stick around. I'm sure some folks will want to speak to you.
How would we contact you? Where's your
I should have started with that.
Yes, I told her to stick around to make sure she's got
yes, I'll be
information to
here.
give you too. Next order, announcements. First I'll recognize Commissioner Glover, then Commissioner Jones. And Commissioner Glover, you had a question you was wanting to get answered?
Yes, I did.
I'd like for
Attorney Street and I have got along great since I've been over here. We've had a few bumps in the road. And needless to say, we worked those bumps out. But, I mean, last week, I want to tell you guys something. They was 8.5 months worth of working that resolution. 8.5 months. That's what the work was in that. And one little word and one little whereas kicked every bit of it out. Now, if we're going to go down this road, if we're going to take the lid off this box, and we're going to start looking at things like that, I've been here 6.5 years. I've never known that happened since I've been here. Can anybody else tell me if that's happened? No. I thought when you rescinded a resolution, you brought it in here, you brought it before the commission, and you rescinded that resolution. Now, Commissioner Ward had a great idea out there. Really, a great idea. If Attorney Street's going to have a say-so on these resolutions, and I'm going to read, this resolution shall take effect from after its passage. All resolutions in conflict hereof be the same rescinded as far as such conflict exists. Let me give you an example. Last month, we passed that resolution with hotel motel tax money to give the bridge $10,000 a month. 4 or 5 resolutions later, we passed Commissioner Slagle's resolution to take the hotel motel tax money and split it 50-50 with the county. Now, was that not in conflict with Commissioner Allison's resolution? So I want the rulings. I want to know why mine was rescinded, and I want to know if Commissioner Allison's resolution is still and why it wasn't rescinded. Now, if we're going to do things like this, and we're going to approach things this way, then how do we know right now that we've even got a county budget? How do we know that the resolution that passed through the budget is not in conflict with another resolution? We passed a resolution tonight on body cameras for the sheriff's department. They had body cameras 7 or 8 years ago. We passed that tonight. How do we know that it's not a conflict with that resolution that was on the dock 7 or 8 or 9 years ago? How do we know? So if we're going to do this, and we're going to go down this road, then maybe every single month, every resolution that we do, that resolution needs to go through Attorney Street's office. He can look at these resolutions and research them and go back and see if they are conflict in a resolution. We might have a resolution on the book that's been on there for 20, 25 years. And one little word in here stowed it out. Or one whereas is stowed it out. We might be working right now under guidelines that we don't even know exist, but we think they do. So how can you rule on a resolution like I had? And how can you not rule on a resolution that we did for Commissioner Slagle that contradicted Commissioner Iverson's? That's my question. You can't pick and choose in here what you're going to do, and you can't pick and choose in here what you're going to enforce. People put long, hard time and hours in these resolutions and a lot of research. And the county taxpayers of this county expect it of us. Now let me give you a comment on the bridge. We don't need a private investment group taking care of our county business. We are elected by Sullivan County taxpayers to do their business. And they got every 4 years, if they're not happy with us, to vote us out. Put somebody else in here to do what they want. That's where I'm coming from. When you start letting corporations and businesses take over your county government, you have no county government. You have no say-so. They do. So I'm very disappointed. I'm not mad. I'm motivated. Y'all get ready. I've got starting in January. We're going to have some fun in here. Now, I'm going to bring, if we're going to do this, we're going to look at it. And waiver of rules, how do you vote on something that's got waiver of rules on it when you don't know if there's a conflict in the past? How do you do it? We voted on waiver of rules tonight on several. And grants. How do we know that we're not violating the grant policy? So there's a lot of unanswered questions here. And if we're going to do this, we write a resolution. That resolution can go through the county attorney's office every month. Him or now he's the county attorney. He'll know. Just like Travis said, we'll take if it conflicts with another resolution, then you need to let us know what that conflict is. We'll change the wordage, or we'll do whatever we need to do to keep throwing something out that means a lot to the taxpayers. 6.5 years ago when I ran for office, I took my petition around and I got it signed. I told people, I said, I'm going over and make a difference. They laughed at me. They said, you ain't going over and make no difference. I'm going to make a difference before I leave here. And you all, I'm telling you, it happened to me. Y'all need to think. It could happen to every single one of y'all. Every one of us. On a resolution that means everything to you. Now, that's where I stand. And if we're going to do this, I'll have some stuff ready in January. It's completely up to the county attorney. If we're going to do this every month, and we're going to rescind things without commission approval and move forward, then I'll have a resolution in here in January that we can discuss, and that's what we'll do. If the workload in his office can handle it, we can handle shooting the resolutions done. Now, like I said, y'all need to think about this. We were doing hundreds of resolutions a year. Hundreds. We don't know if that's the case. How do we? So, like I said, Dan, if you want to respond to what I said, that's fine. If you don't, I understand too. I mean, you're still friends. You've got your opinion. I've got mine. But I've been here for 6.5 years, and I've never seen that done since I've been here. Commissioner Crawford's been here longer than I have. Commissioner Gardner, there's several been here longer than I have. So anyway, I'm finished, and I appreciate y'all letting me say what I had to say. Like I said, now, I'm motivated, and I'm ready.
We'll recognize Commissioner Jones. He's had his mic open now. I'll come back to you, Attorney Street. Commissioner Jones.
I just wanted to thank everybody for their hard work this past year. Wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, but put it on your calendars. You asked for it. We've scheduled it January 7th, 5 o'clock, and we'll be meeting in the cafeteria at the elementary school, where we have a pull-down screen if Charlie Curtis needs that. And every month we meet, I see the need to have a class on parliamentary procedure. You get 2 hours of credit towards the 8 hours you need for next year's certification at this meeting. Thank you.
Attorney Street.
Well, I don't know where to start. Herschel's just taking another bite at the apple. He lost that resolution and he won't give up on it. I mean, we discussed all this the last meeting. You had a vote on it. All this was made clear and it's over. I didn't say his resolution was rescinded. What I said was it's rescinded insofar as there's a conflict. I'm not a historian. I can't go back and research every resolution that's ever been written up here. But if you pass a resolution, it will rescind by implication if there's a prior resolution that contradicts it. That's the only way you can do business. Otherwise, you would literally have to go back and read you could never change your position on something. And you can clearly do that, just like anybody can. So it's in your resolution. It says it in every resolution wherein this resolution conflicts with another resolution, it's rescinded insofar as such conflict exists. It's in there for a reason, so you can move forward. I didn't say his resolution was rescinded. What I said was it's rescinded insofar as it conflicts with this resolution. And I mean, that's true across the board. Otherwise, you would really be limited in what you could do in these meetings.
I'm gonna recognize everybody in the order that they seek recognition. I know y'all have lost your screen. I have too, but I've got my mic screen here. I'll recognize Commissioner Harvey, then Commissioner Carr.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to recognize Councilman Malin Luttrell. I just wanted to say thank you so much for your service to Bristol, Tennessee. He's been wonderful to work with, always very cooperative, a great listener, and thank you again. Appreciate it.
Commissioner Carr.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I do have an announcement. I'm very excited because I thought you had to go all the way to Africa to hunt rhinos, but it turns out if you wait until 2030, you can actually hunt one right here in Sullivan County. That's because I will be knocking on the door of every registered Republican in 2030 and telling them that Katie Priester forced our school system to hire back a communist, and not just any communist, but a communist that forced his students to read an article that said that their white skin is, and I quote, an existential danger, not just to our country, but to the world and all of humanity. And for good measure, he also said that Kyle Rittenhouse was an example of white privilege. So I guess if there's an angry mob trying to burn down your city and kill you, you're just supposed to let that happen, or you're racist. And this is a guy that we have to hire back and give a pay raise to. You know, bravo, job well done, keep telling kids that they're evil. So Katie Priester needs to resign, and if she doesn't, I'm going to drop a house on her in 5 years. And anybody that runs against her, they're getting my full support. I'll do it for free. So mark your calendars and get your popcorn ready.
Thank you, Commissioner Carr. Does anyone else seek recognition? Anyone else have any announcements? Have a motion to adjourn? Properly second. All those in favor? Aye. And adjourn.
Why would she do that? I don't like one bit. Can I get I know. The whole thing, you gotta save it. It's good stuff.
Wow.